Hi, Veronica, and yes, thanks for taking on such a tough subject and laying out in detail kind of what kind of challenges are being faced and how companies are like your own are responding to them. We've had a couple of questions already come in from the audience. One audience member asks, which cost do you expect to increase kind of stronger or the most in 2022? Do you expect it to be materials, energy, or logistics that's increasing the most this year?
Okay, hello first. Well, I think that all of them will increase, and depending on the country and the region, maybe we'll have more increase in energy than in materials. And depending also where are we compared to the source of our supplies, maybe also we'll have an increase of the supply chain of transportation. I mean, I think for each business, it's important to see the peculiarity of the location of the business and from where we buy our materials and where are we located. Because, for example, in Spain, we have a big issue with energy, a terrible issue with energy. It's not the same, for example, in France, because there are differences that nothing to do with the demand. So I think maybe we should also take into account what, from all this, what affects more our industry. I mean, our manufacturer. In our case, we are cable manufacturer. Materials are the most important because the percentage of material cost is very high. So I think all of them, the answer would be all of them would increase. And I think that what is relevant is how each business is related with some of them.
Okay, thank you. And Martin compliments you on a very interesting talk and asks if you'd like to comment on what are the concrete products, measures, or results that you might have derived from your flexible approach to uncertainty. For example, are there contract clauses with suppliers, partners, customers, or certain planning methods or cycles or meeting cycles or new monitoring processes that enables you to enact this more flexible approach?
So I think that we should analyze this from 2 points of view. We have on one side what we can do without the influence of external factor. I mean, what do we have inside? And what we have inside is our factory, our processes, and this where we need to go on in improving productivity, reducing cost, being much more flexible. I mean, this we can do it with independence of anything else. Then, in my presentation, I tried to explain that, of course, I don't have any answer. I wish I had the answer to this question. But I was explaining that from my point of view, to face uncertainty, we need a lot of open mind and flexibility in our relationship with the supply chain. I mean, with our customer, with our suppliers, and with our staff. Because I think that we receive a pressure from our suppliers, and we can put this pressure on our customers. But I think this is not the point. I think the point is to find a solution. I won't call it win-win because it's not win-win. It's just we need to put on the table the problems because our customer needs us. It is clear. So our customer don't need us to close the factories. So we need to share with them and then with our suppliers that also need us because we are customer for them. And our staff need us because they need a job. So I think we need to mix all this and find every moment the solution, the best solution that could fit all the people from the supply chain.
Yeah, and I think that answers, we had another question in from Enrique who asks if you could share your ideas on how to deal with uncertainty by aligning suppliers to the optical fiber and cable optical fiber cable makers and end customers, which I think is kind of what you just said, that it's got to be something that's considered across the whole value chain.
I think, Tom, that the relationship with the customer and with the supplier for a healthy business and for big groups have been always very important, because nobody is alone in the business world. So now more than ever, we need to, there is a crisis, and there is a crisis with such an amount of factors and such an amount of issues that if we don't work together, it cannot be solved.
Okay, and moving on to another crisis that's being faced, sustainability has been a big topic at this week's conference. How do you see this as being another challenge to the supply chain? The carbon footprint of shipping is significant. Ships, trucks, air is yet another example, I believe, of how business as usual will not work going forward. I mean, do you agree with that statement? Is there anything you'd like to respond to that?
Well, I agree. The issue is that we need transportation, and to change things, this requires time, and requires investment. And for example, right now, and as I told you, I'm not a specialist in transportation, but we have a close relationship with our forwarders, and we interchange opinion. And it's not easy because, for example, the port we have in the world, there are not so many. There are 10 main ports in the world. 7 of them are in China. And for example, they are talking a lot about LA port in United States, and it's collapsed. So you cannot put a port anywhere because you need a lot of infrastructure. You need, as I said, to be close to a population, because if it's not efficient, transportation is not efficient. Then we always say transportation by railways is better than by air, but we don't have the infrastructure. So I mean, there is a lot to do, and I really hope that maybe in some way the COVID crisis open our eyes, and the government eyes in all the world, and maybe we'll be able to use some resources to improve the transportation way, to make our businesses and our work better from a sustainability point of view.
And yesterday in some of the discussions, some of these issues that you outlined in more detail were discussed by some other speakers who talked about some of the increases in cost of production that these challenges have created. Are you able to, I believe that yesterday it was spoken about maybe double digits in percentage increase in costs. Is that something that you would agree to, or anything that you can expand upon, how much of an increase in cost manufacturers are facing due to these issues?
Well, I totally agree with the 2 digits, and the gentlemen discussing yesterday about this are high expert, important expert in the industry. The only thing I will dare to add, is that first digit is not 1. I agree with the 2 digit, and the first digit is not 1.
Okay, and for European manufacturers, where perhaps some of those issues that we discussed are more acute, or they're facing some of the more severe challenges in these topics, does it mean that relocation of this manufacturing could be a solution to these issues?
Well, we discuss a lot about relocation, not only in our industry, but in all industries, because there is a lot of shortage of everything, of almost everything. But I think relocation is expensive, and it takes a lot of time, and it depends on what we should relocate. Because if we think about relocating cable manufacturing, we need to think from where our materials are coming, because sometimes if we take, for example, the preform manufacturing, to relocate a preform manufacturing, it's extremely expensive, and it takes a lot of time. And I don't think this is relevant. I think more than this, maybe we should think about relocating to reduce the supply chain, but maybe for sustainability, for reducing some cost, and the most important, to be close to the customer, because at the end of the day is what we need to give a better service, a more efficient service, and the other would be a consequence of this. But I still think that relocation could be an issue because the source of the raw material sometimes is far away from us, and relocating manufacturing is not the solution, the total solution. It would help, but it's not the total solution.
Okay, and we're coming towards the end of our time, but just one last question. I mean, in one of your slides, I saw that you referred to strong or weak companies and short or long durations for a crisis. Where would you describe Cables.com's position in this matrix, or your strategy to overcome this crisis?
Of course, we are a strong company. Really, we are a healthy company, and we belong to a healthy group. And I think this is very important because we are not alone. And our group backs us, obviously. And our strategy is, again, of course, I suppose that the duration of the crisis, I don't know the duration of the crisis, okay? But if I would guess, it would be more long than short, because I don't think the supply chain would be solved so fast. And our strategy is what I was saying, to take care of the business inside, to do everything we can do, and maybe faster than in other situations, to make our business more flexible and more profitable, and then to maintain close relationship with our critical customers and suppliers. And I think this is a solution. And see, you know, Tom, I think that every day it's a new day in which we need to analyze where we are, because it's change very fast, always, and now more than ever. So I think this is a strategy to be open-minded every day and to adapt.
Wonderful. Well, I think that's a good message to end on, to encourage that adaptability. But thanks again, Veronica, for preparing those comments and sharing your views.
Thanks to you and to everybody who was listening to the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you.